Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new episode of Spanish Loops. Hola, Jorge.
Hola, Frank. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Not bad. Thank you so much. Very excited about what we want to talk today. And well, what about if we get some our regular symphony and then we'll be back in a
Well,
few
I
seconds.
think it's great that we're going to have some music coming on.
Well, not music, related to music,
Okay,
yes.
we're going to be talking about music today, but let's
Cliffhanger,
get
cliffhanger.
let's get our symphony and let's be back in a minute.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, Jorge. So we are going to be talking about something related with music. What are we going to be
Yes.
talking about today?
No more, no less. That's Antonio Stradivari.
The violin maker?
Violin, cellos, many other instruments, chord instruments. Yes, the same one. Same one.
Okay, and there's a connection with Spain. So let's start a little bit with his life. Can you give us a little intro about time period? I have no idea about
Yeah, yeah.
that.
He was Italian. We all know that. He was born in Cremona. He was born. His birth date and year of passing away is not certain, but it's circa 1654 until 1737, approximately. Not very far away from those dates. And he was one of the most influential luthiers in history. And he actually defined the fundamental rules of luthiery to this day, with especially the violin model Stradivari. He was, his late works of the so-called Golden Period was an artistic revolution all over Europe. The incomparable good sound of his violins has occupied luthiers and researchers for generations. And today, Antonio Stradivarius violins are, priced and prohibited, and in some auctions they have reached from um, 15 to 20 million dollars.
A piece.
Yeah,
Holy cow! But what? Why are they so influential? What does it make it for them to be so expensive?
well, okay. He creates a revolution, especially in Cremona, in his birthplace. His life story just narrates a time of very profound turmoil, and his let's call it biblical span, of more than 90 years alone represents more than one era in the history of the European music. Remember, we're talking about those years when many classical
Yeah.
musical composers were just discovering all this. Um, it has some gaps, and the historical researchers are not able to fill. For example, it is unfortunate that we do not know with certainty the year of birth, as I said before. It was probably the greatest luthier in the history. If we stick to Stradivarius' own statement on a violin labeled in 1727, I think was the date, in which one Stradivarius noted that he had made the instrument at the age of 83. So for that, 1727, we can deduct that he was 83. We can deduce that his birth year was 1644. Okay.
Okay. Wow, but he was
Yeah.
constructing violins
Yeah. He created a
1883.
brand, he created his own brand as a trademark. What today we would call a trademark. Oh, by
Okay.
the way,
And
um,
where did he learn? Sorry.
well, he has a lot of influence. Don't forget that it was a time of Spanish domination in Italy, and
Okay.
Cremona suffers as much as the social and economic consequences of the Great Plague epidemics in the 1630s. In this situation, this Luthier's family, um, his family was one of the most rooted families in that city, in Cremona. And they had to leave Cremona and fled to safety somewhere else. Probably the reason, the birth of Stradivarius is not really recorded because they had to emigrate out of that plagues and things that were going around at the time, and that's why, Francisco, you know that when someone wants to do in the Christian and Catholic world, if you want to do some research on your ancestors, where did you go? Because there was no what today is called civil files or
You
registers
go to
or
the church and see for
correct.
baptism.
That's right. Baptism. That's why, there is nothing recorded in the ecclesiastic world regarding his name. That's why we don't
Oh,
really know exactly when he was born.
how cute. I mean, how cool is that we have so many uncertain things about
Yeah,
his
I mean,
life?
there's some things that if you don't think about them or you're not told, you never realize. All right. So, oh, so because of that, that's convulsive beginnings of his life. um, where did he learn everything? Well, how did we get to where he got at the end? It's not conclusive evidences, in why he started learning to make violins and lives with and even with what teacher, right? He was the very
Mhm.
first apprentice of a carpenter. That's one of the theories. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So uh, probably there was at the time in Cremona another great master of making musical instruments called Niccolo Amati. So probably he worked for him. We never know. And himself seems to indicate that he refers himself as an alumnus of Niccolo Amati on the other labels of his first violins. So you can find little clues here and there.
So
Okay,
we really don't know where he learned how to
that's
be a
correct.
master.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Well, regardless if he was or not a pupil of Amati, the success of a luthier it was what accomplished the Amati player, and his rapid rise was not due to his revolutionary reformulation of the Stradivari violin model, which earned him a prominent place in the history of musical instruments. Just imagine. Above all, aesthetics appeal, the Stradivarius work, the fact that kept Amatis cast in his workshop until his death is an indication of the importance of his relationships with his master, uh, whether this word is applied literally or figuratively, right? Yeah.
Wow.
Now, some people might be wondering right now, okay, what is the
The
thing that
connection.
well, the connection or the thing, I better say the thing that makes violins, especially violins from Stradivarius, so special. It
Hmm.
was it was very late in his life. At the age of 40, he undertook a radical change when he began experimenting around the year circa 1685. From that year onwards to the next 10 years, the body of the instrument they varied in length and width, both things. So, above all, Stradivari successfully reduced the height of the tonnage. Obviously, wider, bigger, the tonality has to change somehow. Okay?
Yes.
So he took a very decisive step forward, a significant improvement in tone, as a flatter background is easy to vibrate than a more arc alone, right? So some boards widen over the years as well. So that was another improvement he made. Oh my God, there is so many things I could say about him. Everything is coming just to my mind. But with all these changes, Stradivarius seems to have deliberately worked to achieve a louder, more charged and assertive, and what's the word? Assertive, sorry, sound for his violins, combine it with the tonal advantages of his previous violins. Of course, there was an evolution. It has to make one, then to evolve, it has to make another to note all the changes that he was making. Well, this is basically the step steps that he made in all this. And then there is a period around 1690 that can certainly be described as a phase of sometimes daring experimentation in Italian lutherie, in which standards of the violin family, still relatively young, were constantly changing.
Okay. So at this point, I think our listeners might be wondering, why are we talking about an Italian luthier and an Italian violin, violas, and in Spanish loops? I mean, let's make it clear. We always talk about things about Spain. And here in
Yeah,
Spain, we have very close to Jorge's home a
yeah,
very important collection of Stradivarius
yeah.
violins.
Francisco, I did mention earlier that at that time, that part of what today is Italy was under Spanish domination. Okay,
Mhm.
so that was one of the things. He created himself his brand, his reputation, creating these special sounds, making an evolution in the instruments, etc., etc. At the time, the Spanish royalty, it was already it was a transition between the Habsburgs and the Bourbons. So what happened? The collection of the Habsburgs was immense. Bourbons, they also continued the collection. So the connection here is first that that part of Italy was Spanish, and second is that the uh, you were right when you were saying that the connection with Spanish loops are near where I live. Yeah, at Royal Palace in Madrid houses one of the most valuable collection of Stradivarius instruments in the whole world. So I feel fortunate, very, very fortunate. And it's known as the Palatine Quartet or Royal Quartet, made up of 5 decorated string instruments, 2 violins, 1 viola, and 2 cellos. This unique collection is on display in the music room of the Royal Palace Library. Now, there
And
is many theories about this, the construction of these musical instruments. Some people they believe, I mean, obviously, when you have to do some test of something, you have to chop a little bit of that to test it. That is a crime. We know that they are Stradivarius has been certified by many artists and it's been in the archives of the Royal Palace many times. But they keep saying that those instruments they do come from the same tree. Now, by the time these instruments were built all over Europe, and this is something that you can find it in books, in records, but it's not very well spread all over. For I think it was like about 4 or 5 years, Europe had a mini iced age.
mhm.
So what happens when you have forests, even if you have a farm and you have a constant stormy weather, what happens? They
They
don't grow.
die.
They
Yeah.
don't grow. Uh, uh, they might die if they're weak, but if they are trees and they survive, the way they grow, obviously, is much slower. So what happens? Um, it has been found in the instruments that the lines in between one, when you cut a tree and you see the
Hmm.
lines that says that in
The
between the
age of
lines
the
that says
tree.
here, right? It shows the age of the tree. They are very close to each other. That means that the wood was more compact. So it doesn't matter how thin, 1 or 2 millimeters, the back of a violin or of a viola is. If it is a regular piece of wood that a normal tree with a normal growing is going to have a sound. But if it's that millimeter or 2 millimeters thickness of that piece of wood is going to be like very condensed wood, obviously the sound and the tones they're going to change. And on top of that, they were made up to be played together. That's
Okay,
what
so the
makes
five
so unique
instruments.
this collection.
So the 5 instruments, the 2 violins, the viola, and the 2 cellos, they are meant to be played together.
Correct.
And who plays them? I mean,
Oh, good question. There is
somebody, because if
no,
you
no, no.
don't use an instrument, the instrument dies.
there is a team that goes. I think it's every 3 4 weeks, depends on the time of the year. But believe it or not, although they are kept under very special conditions, etc.
Humidity.
Correct. But also the external agents like climatology can affect them in a minimum way, but it can affect them. So
Mhm.
anyway, there is a team of players, professional players, that they go and play them now and again because you have to maintain them when you play them,
Mhm.
otherwise they will go useless. But also, every 5 or 6 weeks, I think it is, there is a concert that those masters they play at the Royal Palace. They
Wow.
offer a concert, limited seating. The seats they fly like hotcakes. They're sold like
I mean,
hotcakes out of the webpage of the Royal Palace.
I
Okay,
imagine the price it's unaffordable.
okay, make a guess.
Oh, I
No, they're not
mean,
for
you
free.
have,
It's not for free.
they're not for free, of course. They're gonna be like 400, 500 euros per ticket. I don't know. More?
18 euros.
What?
18 euros. That's the price
For the
to
concert?
the concert for your seat.
In the Royal. So is it almost cheaper than the ticket to the Royal Palace?
That's why they fly out like hotcakes. And the reason for charging is only just to cover the expenses of the players, the maintenance, a little bit of maintenance for the instruments, and also, of course, those concerts they are offered when there is
Security.
no visitors, so it has to be when it's closed. So you have to switch on the lights. It's not like when you go to your apartment or your house and you turn
Uh,
the whole lights and your bedroom lights and the TV. No,
and
this has to be lit almost the entire Royal Palace to get from the entrance to the place, the music room where they play. So that is just to cover the expensive for the event. They don't make it in a sense of making money out of
profit.
that. Although, when those instruments are requested by some kind of orchestra, there's only very few people in the world, very few professional players that they are allowed to play those. Okay, uh, they can be borrowed or rented out, call it that way, if you want to. Or and then, yeah, I mean, it's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be used in a commercial way.
Okay,
Extreme
so then
recessions. I mean,
prepare the big box.
yeah, that's right. So they rent them out and they charge for them, obviously. But yeah, I feel really fortunate. Although I have to tell you, on the other hand, that I have been able to attend one of those concerts only once in my 30 years living in Madrid because
It's
it's almost
impossible.
impossible to get the tickets. That's right. It's almost impossible. You have to be ready with a thing like that in front of the computer. Yes, okay.
Like one.
Okay, 10 seconds to 12, 9 seconds to 12. Just be ready. They just fly out. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine. Has to be incredible to go. I mean, it has to be incredible. It is incredible to go see them,
Yeah.
but to see them being played, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I remember that. That was some years ago, but I remember it was one of the best experiences of my life. Just that sound. I'm not very fond of classical music. Let's be honest,
Hmm.
okay? I like some pieces of classical music, but it's like having the chance to listen those pieces that they were out and made specially to be played together, and the composers specially composed those pieces for those items. Ah,
For
it's
that
just
set.
mind blowing.
And the environment during the Royal
And the
Palace. Come
environment,
on,
the
it's
Royal
like
Palace, that's right.
it's one of the most beautiful buildings in Madrid. It's
Yeah,
like, wow,
yeah, true.
incredible.
Yeah. And the best
Oh,
part of
and
that, the best part of that, you know what it is?
what is it?
In my tour, Madrid and Imperial cities, we visit the Royal Palace, and those are there displayed, so it can be seen, not heard. Right?
Unfortunately, you
Unfortunately,
cannot
yeah.
hear
I
them.
wish, I wish I could offer that. I mean, that would. I know that my tour will sell very well.
Well, you could charge big bucks for that. I mean, well, but your tours, one of the good things about your tour is that it's a maximum of 10, if I'm not wrong, from
Yeah,
5 to 10
minimum
people.
5, maximum 10 sittings. Yeah.
And how many nights in Madrid? Because you stay
We
every night in
stay
Madrid.
the entire time in the same hotel. Okay, I call it staycations. So
Okay.
we stay in the same place every single day. Then one day is the city, one day is out. One day is the city, one day is out, and so on. Okay. So
Okay.
I think it's really convenient to if you go on holidays and you want to know in a specific area, that's fine. Also, I find perfectly okay if someone wants to stay 2 nights here, 1 night there, 3 nights there, 4 nights there. Perfect. Okay. But I believe that there's also out there some people that they want to know one specific area. So why do you have to be moving from one hotel to another when it's barely an hour and a half away? So we stay there in the same place every single night, and then you have a chance to see not only this, but many other things included.
Wow. Well. So if everybody wants to check Jorge's Madrid staycation, Madrid and Imperial Cities,
That's right.
check his website, travelingwithjorge.com.
.com.
In there, you
Mhm.
have all the information about this tour and other ones.
Correct.
Jorge, I don't know if you want to add anything else. I
I would
deeply in love with the
love to keep talking
Stradivarius.
about the Stradivarius because he has so many stages on his life. But this is going to be, I think this is more than enough to give you a
Yes.
good intro about everything, right? And all I want to say is just again, thank you to all our listeners there for their loyalty. And Francisco, you know that since maybe a year or some ago, we are now again also, not again, sorry, also in YouTube besides the audio platforms in it.
Yes. So if one of the things we really appreciate and we love is when you guys give us a thumb up, you subscribe or you share our podcast because it really helps positioning it in the ranking and more
Mhm.
people can access the greatness of Spain, the greatness of our country that we love to share with all of you.
True.
So if you could give us a thumb up, that would be amazing.
And
What else?
subscribing and thumbs up and all that things is so free.
For free, yes. Okay, our friends, Jorge, thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you,
shall see you next
Francisco.
week.
Yeah,
See?
we'll be back here next week, guys. It's not a threat, it's a fact. We
It's a
will be
fact.
here.
We'll be here.
Next week. Okay.
Okay, adios, amigos.
Bye bye, everybody.
And as usual, we want to thank all our listeners for being there every week, letting us sharing our talks. Follow us in Spanish Loops in Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite platform.
And in Instagram, you can find us as the Spanish Loops Podcast, no spaces altogether. If you want to find us the quickest way, just Google Spanish Loops Podcast and you will find us. Hasta la vista, amigos.
See you next week.